Hello everyone. In this video, I would like to introduce the number of ways where you can debug your instrument in Kontakt. So when I say debugging, I mean mainly the KSP scripting, but there's other stuff that we can look at as well. That kind of, gives you an indication, maybe helps you out a little bit. The thing with Kontakt is, as opposed to many other programming languages, the debugging itself is not so robust. You have to kind of get creative by how you approach it. And basically the message tool over here is kind of your best friend. We will look at it in this video as well. And we will also be looking at the different ways where you can get the debug information. So where does it even display? So there are a number of different things that we can look at. Let's start from the very first, the errors. So basically over here I have an empty file or KSP script, I guess, that is kind of empty. I have a comment here on top of the different things that I would like to discuss, and then I have just on init and end on. Maybe let's start completely fresh. So if I pull in a sample in there, I go to the script editor. All this information is in other videos, so let's not dwell on how you get to different places and just show the essence of this video. So what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be changing here to apply from clipboard, so I can just copy and click apply. I don't need to do the paste step, which is sometimes annoying. And I'm going to grab this script, which does nothing obviously, and I'm going to apply it. So all good. Under a normal situation, you can see, oops, let me actually kill whatever is going to bleep, so we don't have it, I'm sorry. So it worked. We see script updated, no errors. So this is the kind of your first entry point. When you're in the script editor, you have this indicator over here, status indicator on the bottom. And if there would be an error, then it would display something different. So let's very simply forget to do on. So let's do on init end. Let's copy that, paste that in. And immediately you see that it errors out, and it even kind of is smart about it in this case. Sometimes it can get a little bit more confusing, but it knows where the error is. It says, yeah, line 18. Okay, in our case, it's one line before over here, but completely fine. We can find it, right? And it even tells us exactly, oh, wait, there is no end on. Like, I don't understand what you did there. So amazing. In this case, we're really good. So imagine you made that mistake and you immediately would know, oh, okay, wow. So I fix it and I get that back. So this works for this particular case, but what if you were applying a script, as I show in other videos, from the resource container or something like that, and you don't even have the script editor open? So it's not amazing to have just this single line over here that kind of indicates just in the script editor. Maybe it's even a little bit legacy. You need something a little bit more than that if you're making a serious instrument. And there are two ways that you can do it. Let's look at the first one. So the first tool that helps you here is Creator Tools. And if you launch Creator Tools and you don't have like other instances in the rack or like multiple contacts open or whatnot, then immediately it will connect to Kontakt. This is another tool that you can use over here in the Monitor tab. We will look at other stuff that it can do, but it also tells you if Creator Tools was connected. So if you're experiencing some connection errors or not, you can like check that if Kontakt even thinks that it's connected. So it does at the moment. It says Creator Tools connected, amazing. And over here, so again, without opening any project or anything at all, just making the connection, so it is connected now, and there are tools here on the bottom that are receiving information from Kontakt. So if I do the same now, I had this, where's my erroring out script? So remove on again, on init end, and then paste it back in here. So the same still happens. It still goes here to the same place. But if I now go into Creator Tools, I can see the error also in the KSP log. A little bit more robust. It says syntax error, end on in 2 lines, but the same information, which instrument, blah, blah, blah. Also, it tells me which script tab the error happened on. So what if I have, multiple scripts here? I can refer to the correct one. And it also gives me an indication when this happened. So you can also use the KSP engine uptime and other commands if you want to kind of figure out things when things are happening, as opposed to like when the messages and errors are coming in. Let's not dwell on that right now. But suffice it to say, so errors will show up there. And what is actually an error, right? So an error is something that prevents the script from even compiling. So something like this, right? It doesn't know what to do at all in this case. But not every mistake would be an actual error. So, I mean, let's make another example of an error, right? Like something that's really, so if I just go like this, that is definitely also an error, right? And again, I see it here, and I see it here. So yeah, maybe it's obvious what I did here and what the error is, but sometimes it can get a little bit more complex. Like if you have like really drawn out control parameter command setting, and like if you're getting and setting in the same command and doing some math and stuff like that, it's really easy to have syntax errors, especially kind of missing parentheses and things like that. Anyways, before I show the third way of how to retrieve this information, let's continue a little bit with the other pieces of information, because I still want to show something in Creator Tools, namely this variable watching. Once we pass that, we will also look at the third option of how to actually watch these errors. So we talked about an error. Let's talk about warnings for a second. So remember when we said that errors are kind of hardcore, right? It's things that prevent the script from compiling, from even running, prevents Kontakt from understanding what you wrote, let's put it that way. But there are some other things where the script can still compile, but you still have some issue. So let's make an example of that. So how about let's declare an array and just call it values. So we have an empty array. Let's say it has just, well, let's make it five values. So, well, maybe 5 is too much. Let's just take 2 for the example. So, and then let's fill in that array. So let's do values, So value is 0, and let's give it some number. So I don't know, let's say it's 100. Value is 1, I don't know, it's 200, 250, whatever, doesn't matter. So now we have an array with 2 values. If we paste that in, we don't have errors at the moment. Remember, we're connected to Creator Tools, so we actually could be checking over here. And we're all good. Maybe let's also close the side panel so we can look. But what if we do something like this right now? So we say values, and we say, okay, wow, 650. But we say values array at location 2. So location 2 is actually the third location, right? Because we're 0 based, and we only declared our array of size 2. So the array only includes these 2 kind of array positions. And this is kind of an error. But look, there's nothing wrong as far as syntax, right? Like we wrote correct KSP, so this is not the same kind of error. So let's paste that in. And you notice the script compiles. It's all good. There is no real error. Kontakt understood what we wrote there. But it does recognize one thing. And if you can see, here it's not erroring out over on the script status, because this is about the compilation. But we do have a warning over here that is displayed on the bottom here, and this is what we call the message line. And we literally see script warning, line 19. So remember, it's often offset by 1 line, which is kind of just, it's fine because we can easily find it, right? Script 0, array index out of range, assignment has no effect. So the assignment, what we tried to do, to assign the value 650 to the array position 2, the third position in an array that only declares 2, this has no effect. It's literally what it's telling us. And we can also see the same thing in Creator Tools. And you notice that error is indicated in red over here. Here, a warning is indicated with this yellow triangle. And we get the same information. Now, why is that actually useful? So you say, okay, fine, I get it, all good. Then why do I need Creator Tools? If you tell me, look, you showed me that the error I can see here. You showed me that the warning I can see here. But what if you have multiple things that you want to see? So what if you do, I don't know, let's just pretend. At some point in your script, you want to set values, 0 position to 100. Another point, it's a bad example maybe a little bit because you wouldn't be doing this stupid thing sequentially, but just let's say, okay? And then you want to set, I don't know, 1, and you make another mistake. Instead of setting 1, you do 10. So now we have, this is correct, this is correct, this is incorrect, this is again correct, this is again incorrect, right? So we should be getting in the end, and remember the script compiles, it's all good. It's trying to do this thing and it hits a warning. So it hits a warning here and it hits a warning here. So we expect 2 warnings, right? So let's paste that in. All good, as expected, script compiled. And we look here, it says script warning line 21, array index out of bounds, assignment has no effect. Amazing. It refers to this. But what about this? So now I could be going in, fixing this one, and not even realizing that I have another mistake somewhere earlier in the script, because there's only room for 1 line here. So where I'm getting at is here, it pastes the very, well, it does paste. It reports the very last thing to report. So whether it be a warning or later we will look at a message and some other things, but you only see the very last thing. It's maybe useful in some cases, but for many cases this is not good enough. And in Creator Tools, check this out. So, oh, by the way, there's this button here that you can clear the debugger. Let's apply it one more time, and then we see both of them, right? And if we had more things, we would see more things. We would basically see a running, just everything here. For the whole lifetime of the instrument, anything that comes in would just be displayed. If it gets like beyond what is displayed here, then you have a scroll bar and you can see everything that is happening. So this is actually super important. And this is maybe really the only real viable way to work. You can't really work with this. So it's fine that it exists, whatever, but this is what you need. So remember, so another example for something that could be a warning, right? So for example, here I don't have. So let's declare a slider. We will need a slider in any case a bit later, and let's call it slider, and let's say just a normal range. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 0 to 1 million, and let's say now we want to do set control par, and I showed this in some other videos, and let's do get UI ID. Let's get the ID of the slider, and then let's say control par picture, and then let's say woo picture dot png, or no, you don't need that even. Let's say just woo pic. Okay, this is a string, so control par str, which would also be a bug in the end. Well, let's try that, let's see what this does. Boom. So this is actually a compilation error. You see the difference? This is not a warning. This may be a good example, because here I have an error. I'm doing set control par, and this argument over here expects a number, and I'm trying to give it a string, and it doesn't know what to do with that. It says, look, this is not correct. You're not using the command correctly, so fair enough. It gives me an error. Now let's fix the error. So I say, okay, wow, you're right. So I do control par str, slider, control par picture, woo pic. Amazing. Now I apply. Oops, let's clean it up. I think it's, maybe it doesn't do it. Maybe I'm not correct here. I thought it would tell me that it can't find the picture. Okay, fair enough. Maybe I made a mistake. I think it should work if you're maybe trying to set it from the resource container or something like that. But my mistake. But what I do want to show, let's not dwell on that. You see here that, maybe let's even clean it up completely. So I have just a slider. Okay, apply. Everything's good. Creator Tools is not displaying a new warning, right? Then why do I still have this guy over here, script warning, blah, 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 blah. So this shows until you tell it to clear it. So it's often very, very important, and this is kind of a tip. Always start your scripts with an empty message, and now we'll get into what messages are. An empty message, basically, when you do message, it messages. So to here, to Creator Tools, to the log, basically, and to what we'll show also to Visual Studio Code if you'd like. We'll show this in a bit. So now I click apply. Boom, this is now empty. And you can use the message for many, many ways. For example, what if I do something like this? So instead of having one slider, I would have two sliders. So let's do slider 1, and let's do slider 2. And then let's do on UI control, and let's do slider 1, and then let's do the same slider 2. And then let's say I have some code running and I'm not sure if I'm calling the right UI callback for that. So let's do slider 1 touched. Slider 2 touched. And now, if I click now my sliders, you will see, first of all, it goes here, slider 1 touched, slider 2 touched. But again, this is the last one that's shown. But here, with every touch, and remember, a touch on a slider is continuous. So as I'm dragging it, every time I go in the callback, it basically tells Kontakt to trigger the message, and I can see that it's touched. So this is super useful to track down complex things. So let's say you're not just, maybe you want to also this for some reason, but maybe you're calling some functions and there's like a whole chain of things and you're not sure if something is being called when it should be called. So you can kind of force a message out and see that, okay, wow, this actually got triggered. So the bug is not over here. If you think something is being triggered or not being triggered, you can also very simply message also the value of the slider. So maybe you're not sure about some value that is coming in, and you can also do, oops. So here it's just going to say touched, but here now we expect it to say, okay, slider, and the value of the slider, or slider 1, or whatever you want. But so slider 1. Now we go back to Creator Tools. It's kind of easy here to clear it like this. And now we say slider 1, and we get the actual value of the slider every time we move it. And same, and in slider 2, we get the same old previous message. So that's one way of doing things, getting complex messages. You can message different things. You can message variables, and you can do a lot of stuff around that. There's another way where you can get the values, specifically values of variables, in a continuous way, and you can kind of report back whenever that variable changes. So it doesn't necessarily have to be entering the UI control. Now let's show what I mean here. So there is a command called watch var, very, very simple. It's used in the init callback, and this tells Kontakt to basically, look, this variable that is declared, so this slider 1, you watch it all the time. When there's a change to that variable, you report the value. Basically you do this. You message the value of that variable, and it's as simple as that. So let's do actually let's do something like this. Let's actually watch variable 2, and when we touch slider 1, let's do slider 2 equals slider 1, and now we don't even have the UI control for slider 2, let's say, right? And we just want that whenever I move slider 1, slider 2 equals the same. So how would I be able to actually prove that? And this is where it comes in handy. So I'm going to be watching slider 2 and making sure that it gets triggered and it gets the same value as slider 1. Let's see. So let's clean it up and let's move slider 1. And there we go. We get the value of slider 2. So this is actually super, super useful. Now, okay, it's in front of my eyes. What if it was somewhere in another part of the GUI? What if it was hidden? And other things, yeah. So this really allows you kind of this control over it. Of course, I can also watch slider 1. I can do all these things. So this is directly watching a specific variables, but you have one more way of watching values, and that would be array watching. So watching positions within an array. So for example, let's do this now. So let's declare our variables array again. So declare bars, I don't know, whatever. And let's say it has 2 positions. And now let's do watch. And you see it's the same command watch, but instead of var, I'm watching array index. And I say which array, so let's say vars. And I want to, I can tell them the command to watch a specific index. So let's say I want to watch the first index. And then instead of now doing slider 2 equals slider 1, let's say we don't care about the slider. We just want that when you touch slider 1, it changes the first position of the array. Oops, what did I do? So vars, and we do position 0. And remember, we're watching position 0, right? And we do slider 1. Now, whenever I change slider 1, position 0 of this array gets that value, and we want to make sure of that, so we're watching that specific index of that array. Let's do that. Apply. We're good. Let's clean here. And there we go. And actually, wait, there should be a, clear log on Kontakt apply. So I don't actually need to do this manually. Stupid. There we go. Much better. So now it's watching that specific array position. So that's it for, I guess, the main things that you have here and the main places that you can see them. And there's actually the last place, which is code editor. So again, errors, warnings, you have messages, and you can watch variables, and you can watch array positions. You can see them, depends what. So errors you can see over here in the KSP editor, messages and variable watching and warnings you can see here in this indicator on the bottom line. Remember just the last one. And you have here the KSP log and KSP variable watching. By the way, variable watching, here you saw that it goes in every single line. So yeah, maybe this is something cool to show. So if I'm here and I'm kind of moving around, you see that it gets really like tons of lines. And what if I have other messages coming in and stuff like that? Here you have another small little tool where the variable watching happens just in one line. So it's just a little bit of a helper. So you see it's just, okay, there's a variable to watch. Let's say you would have another one. So I don't know, let's do watch var. So we watch the array, but let's watch also slider 2, just because. And if we paste it here, with the variable watching, you see now everyone would get its own line, but they will not be taking up crazy multi-lines as opposed to here. Now maybe you want to see, wait, where was, so I'm moving them both and I want to see the last value of one of, so I have to start scrolling, and here I don't. Here they are just available to me. So that's kind of an advantage to creator tools, because I will show also in the code editor, you don't have this kind of split between the log and the variable watching. So that's the one advantage here. So again, we talked about all these things. Let's talk about the monitor tab and the CPU profiling. In the end, let's quickly show how to do this with the code editor. So maybe let's keep Creator Tools open for a second, but let's close Kontakt altogether. So kill it, and then launch, oops, what am I doing? And then launch Kontakt from the code editor. Now I showed this in another video. Look for the video where I explain how to get set up with the Kontakt Lua API. But this is useful not just for the Lua API, what I show in that video. It's useful also for KSP debugging, as we will see right now. So assuming you have all this set up, you can run Kontakt from either VS Code or Sublime, which are recommended, are two recommended editors for doing this. And as you can see now I have Kontakt open, and now I have a terminal over here. And everything from Kontakt gets spit out to this terminal. With one, not caveat, but one thing to keep in mind. As long as Creator Tools is open, this is, let's say, the first priority, let's say. If it notices that Creator Tools is open, it will send the debug information to Creator Tools. Maybe I shouldn't have actually closed the instrument. Let's go back. Or I should have maybe saved it or something. Oh, what did I do? Didn't mean to go to the library. I mean to go here. All right. So let's load our sample again, whatever, and let's go in our code editor into here, and again do our same code. And now Creator Tools is still open, and as you can see, there's some stuff from Kontakt because we loaded it. Ignore this. This is not yet your things, but the messages and stuff, it went over here, right? And the minute I close Creator Tools, and now let's apply again. oops, let's apply. Now you see that I start getting the errors over here. Now, why did I get an error? Because I copied this stuff over here. What I should be copying is this. But fair enough, it's good that we see. So we see our error. It comes in over here. We paste, and now we have our variable. And if we start moving it around, you will see that it behaves the same way as the KSP logger. What we do not, so it logs, it does the variable watching. What we don't have is this kind of separate tool that we have in Creator Tools where it doesn't take additional lines. Anything else does work this exact same way over here. So for example, we saw that the variable watching comes in, we saw that the KSP error comes in, but also any messages you throw at it. So, yo, so you touch the slider, mate. And now we kind of get our info. And as you can see, we also see the message type. So trace, fine, info. And when we had the error, it said error. What if we get a warning? So let's try to do vars at position 3, which doesn't exist, equals, doesn't even need to be the slider, whatever. So let's see how that plays out, and let's move it. And now we get the warning type. That's actually super useful. I think it's kind of my preferred way to work because I don't use so much or at all. To be honest, I don't use variable watching. If you do, then maybe the Creator Tools tool is useful for you. But in any case, this is the way to work moving forward with Kontakt, seeing as Creator Tools is not invested in anymore at the moment. So this is the way that you should be kind of future-proof way for now of doing the debugging. So everything, this is actually also useful because if you're also working with the Lua API, then you don't need to worry about having Creator Tools open at all. You can just get all the information straight over here. So as we showed in other videos, if I now run a Lua API script, let's go on top here. And again, to learn how to do that, watch the relevant tutorial or my relevant videos or run the tutorials. But also the Lua API info, again, also comes in here. So you can basically work in one place, just launch Kontakt from your code editor, and you have all the debug information coming into one place. So that's all there is to it, basically. And I think maybe let's quickly look at two last things that can help you out. It's not directly related to the KSP anymore, but more just to Kontakt in general. So if you're in Kontakt, you have this monitor tab over here, and this is another tool to a little bit show you what's going on in the instrument. You can see which groups exist. In this case, there's only one group. Samples in the group, how many zones, what is the index of the group, and zone the same, so you can see the index, the ID. This starts to get useful when you have really big instruments and maybe you're deleting groups in zones and adding groups in zones instead, and you want to make sure that your indexes that you're referring to are corrected in your script. So it's really kind of a useful overview to see it all over here. And then maybe here, let's look really quickly at the engine tab, which gives you some information about how your instrument is behaving as far as memory and CPU usage and voices and all of that. Sometimes it's useful if you're kind of, if you're feeling like your instrument is maybe heavy, or I don't know, it's just information that you maybe want to know. And then regarding feeling heavy or not heavy, there is an option here where you can turn on CPU profiling, and then it will show you as you play a note, kind of what is the CPU that is being taken. So let's open two things. And as you can see here on top, I had, I don't know, it was hitting 15, 16% and whatnot, but you can see that replica is 5 out of it and realm is 7 or something like that, 7 point something. Maybe it's not even the most precise, and it's moving kind of quickly and everything, but you can at least infer things from that. Like you immediately infer, okay, so in this case, realm is taking a little bit more than replica, right? And yeah, if you have a lot of effects and a lot of things, you can make maybe calculated sort of decisions based on what you see in the CPU profiling. So I guess that's it. There are KSP commands that you can get creative with, like to measure things and to measure timing, like KSP uptime and things like that. Look in the manual for the things that involve timing. And of course, you can also creatively use variables and then check their values. So you do something in your script based on something, you set a result, and you can check for the result and message the result, things like that. You have to kind of think that way because you don't have so like really like strong built-in tools like, I don't know, try and catch and yeah, all of that from other languages, assertions, whatnot. This is the way that you work in Kontakt, and you have to kind of get into the paradigm, and then you can do most of the debugging things that you need usually. All right, so this is it. Happy debugging.